Prabhu, can I introduce? Oh.
Hare Krishna, Rasikendra, Prabhu.
Oh,
He's
came back.
audio is there for me.
Just ask whether it can.
Hare Krishna, Rasikendra, Prabhu. Are you able to hear us? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Rasikendra. Prabhu, you are muted. Oh, Hare Krishna. We can see your face and hands. Oh, you unmute, Prabhu.
Not able to unmute?
Oh, he's not able to unmute.
Okay, got it. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, very good.
Prabhu, we are going to make introduction. 1 minute.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, devotees. We have a special speaker today, His Grace Rasikendra Prabhu, very senior devotee from Houston congregation. Here is a brief introduction of Prabhu. Prabhu born to South Indian immigrants in Singapore. Rasikendra Prabhu became exposed to Srila Prabhupada's book when he was about 12 years old. After his eldest sister purchased the Bhagavad Gita as it is and an entire set of Srimad Bhagavatam, he came to Texas in December 1991 to pursue his graduate studies in engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington. Shortly thereafter, he met devotees from the Dallas ISKCON temple for the first time on the university campus. Enthused and encouraged by their saintly association, he developed a friendship with them and started chanting and frequenting the temple. He met his spiritual master, His Grace Srila Tamala Krishna Goswami Maharaj in 1992. He moved into the Dallas devotees community in 1994 and received his first initiation in Dallas in January 1995 and received Brahminical initiation in Houston in May 1996. Prabhu got married to Padaduli Devidasi in Dallas on Govardhana Puja Day in November 1996. Their marriage was arranged and presided over by their spiritual master Srila Tamala Krishna Goswami. They have a daughter, Tamala Priya. After receiving his PhD in aerospace engineering in December 2004 from the University of Texas at Arlington, he was employed as a faculty there. Then he and his wife moved to Houston in March 2006. At present, Prabhu works as an engineer, entrepreneur, and investor. He resides with his family close to the Houston ISKCON temple. He manages Tamal Krishna Goswami Memorial Foundation, which continues the sacred legacy of Maharaj by printing and distributing his books. He leads fundraising initiative for various ISKCON projects, actively participate in outreach programs and initiative to spread Srila Prabhupada's teaching to the masses. We are truly blessed to have Prabhu's association today. With that, let us welcome Rasikendra Prabhu by loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Over to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on his disappearance day. So that we can speak unlimitedly about the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the dearmost spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. But we will give some pertinent aspects of his life. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He was born in February 6, 1874 in the sacred Dham of Jagannath Puri. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was actually one of the children of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has had 14 children. So his first, he was married, and then his wife passed away shortly after giving birth to his first son. Another Prasad, his name was. Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he had so many responsibilities, he couldn't, raise the child himself, and also he was a empowered representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had much on his plate to do, so he remarried shortly. And also Bhaktivinoda Thakur, through Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we received Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur married shortly after his first wife expired. And through that wife, he had 13 children. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born February 6, 1874, 3:30 p.m. the Holy Land of Jagannath Puri. So just some context, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was single-handedly reviving the teachings and the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So shortly after Mahaprabhu, after Mahaprabhu left this world, Gaudiya Vaishnavism was flourishing, but due to the influence of time and due to very opposing forces, it went through a time of, what can I say, it lost its prominence for some time, and also due to primarily from people who were pretending to be Gaudiya Vaishnavas but were doing a lot of horrible things, dressed as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Gaudiya Vaishnavism fell into terrible disrepute for some time, especially after Baladev Vidyabhushan, after his disappearance. So for some time, a lot of very unscrupulous people dressed in the garb of devotees brought great infamy to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And slowly the teachings became very subdued. Mahaprabhu's pure teachings became very subdued during this time. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was sent by Lord Chaitanya to revive this teachings to its purest form, and also for many other purposes. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed to Lord Jagannath that, actually Lord Jagannath appeared to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and said, I didn't bring here to Puri to be engaged in this kind of judicial work and all this. I brought you to this world to revive pure teachings as taught by myself as Lord Chaitanya. So why are you so busy? Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I've got so many responsibilities. I have to do my responsibilities so people will not say that, look, a Vaishnava is irresponsible. So you please send somebody from your own entourage to help me. I am doing to my utmost best, but I need your help. I need you to send me somebody from your own entourage, somebody from your own energy. You send a ray from you. So that way, Lord Jagannath answered the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer is so powerful, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of course, single-handedly revived the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur named him as Bimala Prasad. Bimala means the internal potency of Jagannath is known as Bimala. So when you go to Jagannath Puri, there's a temple of Bimala Devi. So that's called also the Yoga Maya potency of Lord Jagannath. So if you all have gone to Jagannath Puri, you should definitely go to take darshan of Bimala Devi. Bimala Devi, she's the internal potency of Lord Jagannath. Without her mercy, we cannot understand Lord Jagannath. So neither can we get access to Lord Jagannath. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born, and when he was born, it's famous. I know, probably most of you already know. He was born with this umbilical cord wrapped around like a born Brahmin. This understanding is there in India. Even up till this day, one has to be born in a Brahmana family to be known as a Brahmana. But that is refuted by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So one's position in society, whether one is a Brahmana, one is a Kshatriya, one is a Vaishya, one is a Shudra, it's not dictated by birth, but dictated by guna and karma. So therefore, we also see people in ISKCON, like many devotees. In fact, so many devotees are not Brahminically born, but they are doing such wonderful Brahminical activity. They are not born in Brahmana families. So like that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Lord Jagannath wanted to display, look, here is somebody who's already born with Brahminical qualities. Here is a true Brahmana. Of course, a Brahmana, a Vaishnava is greater than a Brahmana, but this is one way of Lord Krishna to say that here is a person who's already endowed with all the wonderful qualities of a saintly person at birth. That means he is already is an indication that he is sent by Krishna. And also during in India, of course, when the child is born, the astrologers are called. In those days, astrologers were very expert. Okay. Nowadays, astrologers, somebody goes online, learns some astrology here and there, and then becomes an astrologer. But in those days, astrology is learned under tremendous discipline, and you have to go through so much rigorous training to become an astrologer. And so this astrologer said, looking at this child, all the physical characteristics of the child says that this person is a divinely descended person. His eyes, his nose, his forehead, his arms, his navel. So like this, the astrologers, and this person will become a world-renowned preacher of Vaishnavism, and he will spread through his activities. Vaishnavism will be revived, like that, he predicted. So, and when he was 5 months old, during the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath came in front, the Rath goes on Grand Road. Grand Road is the main road in Jagannath Puri. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's residence was in Grand Road. So Lord Jagannath cart came to a grinding halt right in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home. And they tried so much to move this cart, the cart would not move. It said that it stayed there for 3 days. So we find that sometime during our Rath Yatra festival, the cart comes to a stop. Okay, so, but in this case, it stayed there. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur took this opportunity to get Lord Jagannath's mercy on the child. So the mother ascended the cart with the child, 5-month-old, and she placed the child in front of Lord Jagannath. Of course, that time Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a highly placed magistrate in Jagannath Puri, so everybody had deep respect and great regard and subservient to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So she placed this 5-month-old boy at the feet of Lord Jagannath, and he touched, extended, and it is said that he extended and touched the feet of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath reciprocated. The garland dropped. The garland which was adorning Jagannath fell on the body of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this was another indication that this child is an intimate associate. Lord Jagannath wanted to see this child, and the child wanted to see Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath bestowed his grace on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So these are all the early incidents of his life. And of course, we also know the famous incident when Bhaktivinoda Thakur had brought some very tasteful mangoes before he could be offered to Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, he took the mango, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur rebuked him, say, how could you take this mango before it's offered to Krishna? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at that age, he saw the severity. He thought that that was a very bad offense, very serious offense. And he took a vow that I shall not eat mangoes for the rest of my life, because I have desired something which was meant for Lord Krishna's pleasure. And he kept that vow. So that's also an indication how can a small child can take such a sober and such a serious, grave vow. Even as adults, we're not able to keep our vows. This child, he took a vow at that time. So these are all indicative that this person is not an ordinary person. And even at a very young age, he mastered the Bhagavad Gita, and he could recite every sloka of the Bhagavad Gita, not only recite the slokas, but could explain the slokas. You know, in India, we find, you know, some children, even young children can recite the entire Bhagavad Gita. So the recitation is one thing, but the understanding is another thing. So the understanding is a far much more important thing than just the recitation. Okay, so somebody can recite the Bhagavad Gita, but may not be living the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And without living the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, one cannot understand the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, another famous theme in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life is he told all the fake gurus, the charlatan gurus, who have taken the position of Acharya. He says, Achara, O Acharya. So, O Acharya, all of you are claiming to be Acharya, but first you all have better Achar. Only when one has good Achar, one can take the position of Acharya. So, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur trained Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur so wonderfully in every aspect. So while they were digging to build the house, they found a Kurma Shaligram Shila, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he awarded that to his son to worship the Kurma Shila. So there's a deep import, Kurma avatar. So like that, he worshipped even from a very young age. He was trained in all the aspects of Vaishnavism, very, very rigidly, very carefully, very expertly trained. Like that, and then he also taught him how to print books and how to edit the books, how to print the books. That was a very, very important thing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur taught his son. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a very, very rigid brahmachari. Okay, very, very rigid and highly learned. So he was also known as the walking encyclopedia. So very, very highly learned person. He could talk about any topics, spiritual and material. So big scholars, they realize that this person cannot be defeated. All right. So in any way, any form or fashion, because his character was also so immaculate. Right? During Lord Chaitanya, Sanatana Goswami glorifies Haridas Thakur. Sanatana Goswami says, some people behave properly, but they don't preach. And some people preach, but they don't behave properly. So Sanatana Goswami then glorified Haridas Thakur as, you, my dear Haridas Thakur, your behavior is immaculate and your preaching is unparalleled. Therefore, you are the greatest devotee on this world, in this world. So therefore, wherever Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and another example here is Advaita Acharya. When Advaita Acharya did the Shraddha ceremony for his forefathers, he offered the first remnants from Lord Vishnu's plate not to some Brahminically born family. Interesting. He offered the Shraddha plate first to Haridas Thakur. There were so many highly placed caste Brahmins there who were highly respected. So he did not offer that plate. He first offered it to Haridas Thakur as a sign of deep respect for Haridas Thakur. So therefore, an Acharya, even Haridas Thakur, Advaita Acharya is a manifestation of Mahavishnu. He played the role of an Acharya. So he offered, so he said, whoever practices and preaches, he's the highest devotee. And because he's preaching the glories of the holy name, nobody has done what, therefore he deserves the highest praise. So like that, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he could defeat anybody in debate. So he was so learned, but he had not received Diksha up till now. Even though he was born to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had given him so much instruction, Shiksha, but he had not taken Diksha yet. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I've thought about this matter very deeply. You have to go and take initiation from Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj. So, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he obeyed his father's order. Then he approached Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj. And Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj, all of you may know, it's a very, 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 very renounced personality. Okay, in his pranam mantra, what is Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj's pranam mantra? Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rashambodaye Pada Vipralamba Rashambode Padambojaye Tenama. So he is said to be the Shakshat Vairagya Murti. That means if renunciation has a form, it is Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. That's how renounced he was. And he was also illiterate. It is said that he didn't even know how to write his name. But interestingly, he carried 2 books of Narottam Das Thakur, Prema Bhakti Chandrika and Prarthana. So this is also very indicative that even though he didn't know how to read, he carried the books. Somebody may say, why is he carrying the books? Because he considered the teachings of Narottam Das Thakur there to be the most priceless jewels. So he was carrying these jewels because he has fully imbibed the teachings of Narottam Das Thakur. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went in search of Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. You know, Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was never at one place. Sometimes he used to be chanting along the bank of the Ganges. Sometimes he used to be chanting in some kind of, in the field. Sometimes he used to be chanting in a place where, in the crematorium. So finally he found Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj and approached him in great humility, and he said, my father has said that you are my spiritual master and I have to take initiation from you. Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, what? I am illiterate. You are a foremost scholar. You are the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I don't even know how to read one word. How is it befitting that I become your spiritual master? Say, no, I can't initiate you. You go away. And I vowed also not to take any disciples. So he goes back very dejected and tells his father. Then his father said, no, you have to. So he goes back again. Then he says, well, let me ask my Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. I have to put this matter in front of Lord Chaitanya. So then he said, come back later. I have to consult. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati goes back again. He says, oh, I forgot to ask Gaura. So like that, he was, imagine a person of such stature of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Right? So like this a few times, and then finally Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that if you don't accept me as your disciple, then I think the only thing I can do is I have to give up my life. So what's the purpose of me living when I cannot find, when my guru rejects me and doesn't want to initiate me? So he was ready to jump off the bridge into the Ganga. And then Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, okay, I will initiate you. Okay, so he initiates Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and gives him the name Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita Das. Okay, so Varshabhanavi Devi Daita. So Radharani is one who is dear to Radharani. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Goswamis, of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gorakishore, they all part of the internal, very close entourage of Srimati Radharani. They're very close servants of Srimati Radharani in the form of Manjaris. So he was given that name, and later he came to be known because of his erudition as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or sometimes just as Saraswati Thakur. So like this, he became initiated, and after getting initiated, he saw the such intense renunciation of the spiritual master, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So he had this amazing, wonderful fortune of being the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the disciple, the Diksha disciple, and also Siksha. Okay, and so he both Diksha and Shiksha from Gaur Kishore and also Siksha from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So can you imagine the amount of spiritual potency he received from these two great personalities? So so he took then there was a famous incident. The Smartas in Bengal, they arranged for this conference, saying that, this Gaudiya Vaishnavas are becoming very, very powerful. We have to establish the fact that we have to tell them somehow by debate that those who are born in a Brahmin family are superior to Vaishnavas. Okay. So there was a conference arranged, a big conference. So big Pandits came for this conference. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was supposed to go for this, but he fell ill. So he told, and he was lamenting, who will go and defend the position of Vaishnavas? Then he said, then he called for his son. So, and the son, you have to go for this. So, and he prepared his whole thesis, what he wants to present there. And he showed it to his father, who was bedridden at that time. So the father read that and he said, Saraswati, Saraswati. So he approved. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to this Sammelan where all these great Pandits and highly learned scholars. But then before he could start, they put so many restrictions. You say, you cannot talk from this scripture. You cannot talk from that scripture. You cannot talk from this Samhita. You cannot talk from this Purana. Like that, he put so many restrictions. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he accepted all of that restriction. With those restrictions, even with this restriction, it's just like somebody is asking you to run a 100-meter race, and then they tie your hands. And they tie your hands and say, okay, run a 100-meter race. Can you easily win a 100-meter race if your hands are tied? Of course, you can try, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even with all those restrictions, without drawing reference to what this Smartas, he actually defeated all of them so soundly, and they were like completely, their ego were completely smashed to pieces. And when the common people there saw this, they saw this Vaishnava, who is this powerful sun-like personality, so effulgent, and his knowledge is unparalleled. They were overwhelmed. So all the villagers started rushing towards Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to get his mercy. And what the organizers, they did, some good-minded organizers, they asked him to trample on some dust. Wherever he was, they took that dust and put it in buckets of water and just splashed on all the villages. But during that Sammelan, because there were no Vaishnavas cooking, it is said that he never ate for all those days there. And he only took tulsi. Every day he took just one tulsi. Never ate any drink. So such a powerful and devout, so devoted to the tradition he was. So, and then he started so many wonderful preaching efforts. So his father departed this world. And then his spiritual master departed this world. And he became very dejected. Okay, this is called a transcendental dejection. Okay, not like dejection we go through in our life. We don't get a job, or we lose a job, or we don't, my son doesn't get into the college he wants. Not this kind of dejection. Okay, this is transcendental dejection, when one feels that one's shelter is no more in front of them. One goes through dejection spiritually. So the gopis felt dejection when Krishna disappeared. Like that, Srila Prabhupada felt dejection when his Guru Maharaj left. Just like when a husband passes away, the wife feels dejection. So it is said that the disciple should cry just like a wife, a chaste wife and a devoted wife will cry when a husband passes away. That's how a disciple should cry when the spiritual master passes. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, what can I do? My two protectors, my two shelters are gone. What can I do? So he took a vow to chant 1 billion names of Krishna. The 1 billion of names of Krishna is 300,000 names of Krishna a day, just like Haridas Thakur. So sometime he used to stay in a hut, and the hut had so many holes. So when it rained, the water will come into the hut, and that didn't discourage him. He'll just put an umbrella over there and chant continuously day and night. 300,000 names of Krishna. So that is 192 rounds. Okay, we struggle with 16 rounds. Struggle with 16 rounds. Here Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he also, during that vow, he took a vow, he will only eat 3 mouthfuls. I can't remember, it's only 1 mouthful, or even without using his hands. So his disciples will put the prasad in front of him, and then with his mouth on the ground, on the bare floor, he will take 3 mouthfuls. That's it, his meal for the day. So with such austerity, he was preparing himself to spread. And then Mahaprabhu and the Acharyas appears in his dream, the Panchatattva. They said that, now please go and preach. You have our full blessings. So he starts writing so many wonderful commentaries. He starts initiating disciples. He establishes the Gaudiya Math, then the Chaitanya Math. And he travels all over India, defeating this concept that one has to be born a Brahmin to worship the Shaligram, to worship the deity. And his scholarship was so amazing. Even the Ramakrishna Math people, whenever they go and ask, the Ramakrishna mission was very highly regarded in Bengal at that time. So when people used to go and ask them about scriptural matters, they will say, go and ask the sannyasis at Gaudiya Math. Not only Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur trained his disciples so philosophically, they became so astute. They could explain everything to everybody. So there are so many wonderful incidences. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was known also as the Singha Guru. He never compromised on the philosophy in the name of becoming popular. He never compromised on the philosophy. Sometimes we have a tendency, this is too strict for the common people. He may not be able to accept this. So kind of, let's say, this is okay, that is okay. But he never compromised like that. And because he never compromised, and he also told his disciples not to compromise, the Gaudiya Math became so powerful and spread all over India, actually. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established 64 mats. Wherever he established those temples, the footprint of Lord Chaitanya will be there. So, and he taught the highest, the best, the most purest teachings as taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So so there were also, and then one of his most wonderful contributions is that he taught what Yukta Vairagya is. You know, during Mahaprabhu's time and even after Mahaprabhu's time, before Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, mostly the highest order were the Babajis, and they became very reclusive. They never interacted with the world much. They were absorbed in their bhajans. So they were mostly bhajananandis. They were not Gostyanandis. Gostyanandis means one who is anxious to increase the family of Krishna. So those are the preachers. So all of you know, Srila Prabhupada in his famous Vyasa Puja address, he addresses, how does he address Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? He addresses Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as the evangelic angel. What does that evangelic angel means? Evangelism means one who is a missionary, who's preoccupied with spreading the teachings of Godhead to everybody. That's evangelism. And Srila Prabhupada, so rightfully in his famous Vyasa Puja address, he addressed Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as the evangelic angel. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was this divinely sent angel. I'm using the word angel, may have some Christian annotation, but not in our sense. Is divinely inspired from the spiritual world, descended to spread the teachings of Mahaprabhu far and wide. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he took the essence of Rupa Goswami's, Rupa and Raghunath's teaching, Raghunath Goswami, and taught us what is real Vairagya. So the Babajis, they were reclusive and never interacted with the society. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if I become a reclusive, then how am I going to recluse? If I become, how am I going to? So he said, Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this formula to use everything in Krishna's service. I can be residing in a big mansion, but if I'm using that mansion 100% in Krishna's service and not for my gratification, that becomes real Vairagya. You know, so also the impersonalists, they have this concept that I should not touch anything material. Neti, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman, that is not. So I will practically not do anything except study the Vedanta. So this is the understanding Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also had before he met Lord Chaitanya. But Srila Rupa Goswami has given us the formula, Nirmanda Krishna Sambandha. Anything which is used in Krishna's service in its proper form has found its true purpose. Just like Ravana wanted to enjoy Sita and he separated Sita from Ram to enjoy Sita. So that is the evil mentality. Whereas Hanuman, he wanted to bring the property of Ram back to Ram. So that is Yugda Vairagya. So anything you use in Krishna's service material, matter, this mouse, if I'm clicking this mouse for Krishna service, then it is bhakti. That's real Vairagya. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Lord Chaitanya came us to teach Vairagya Vidya, the knowledge of real renunciation. From what is real renunciation? Real renunciation meaning using everything in Krishna's service, not rejecting. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was the pioneer in that actually. In fact, he as a sannyasi, he wore a suit and he wore boots and he walked into Vrindavan like that. So people, all the Babajis became very furious. Say, how could you do this? The sacred Vrindavan you have come and you are a sannyasi, how could you do that? And also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established sannyas in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Before that, they were and he took some aspects of sannyas from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, some from the Madhva, and then he instituted sannyas in his chief disciples, most of them were sannyasis. Before that, they were mostly just Babaji. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, yes, I've come to drive away all these false, pretentious people who are imitating to be real Vaishnavas. And I'm using whatever Krishna has given me in my service. So when he went to Parikrama, he brought his disciples, the whole Braj Mandal Parikrama. After the bed, he said that I didn't see any real Vaishnava. Can you imagine? So, of course, he's trying to tell his disciples that it's very difficult to recognize a Vaishnava. Doesn't mean one is wearing Babaji clothes, chanting, holding the mala. He's a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava means one who has given his life to Krishna, one who has intense love for Krishna, one whose speech, mind, body, words, everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure. That's a Vaishnava. That's a Paramahamsa. So, like that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, by his personal example, he taught so many wonderful things. And Prabhupada took that same mission so seriously. In fact, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and I think he was 26 years old. Yes, 1922 Prabhupada met in Kolkata. Prabhupada's friend Narendranath Malik said, Abhay, we have to go and see this sadhu. That time they were part of the Gandhi movement. Prabhupada was a very ardent supporter of the independence movement. And he said, Abhay Babu, let's go and see, you have to see this sadhu. He is just an extraordinary person. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said that time, listen, Abhay. So I've seen so many sadhus. When I was young, my father used to invite at least 3 sadhus every day to my house. I've seen some of them smoking bidi, doing this, doing that. I've seen all the sadhus. No, Abhay, you have to come and see. This person is an extraordinary sadhu. So with great, Narendranath, Prabhupada's dear friend, Prabhupada mentions him, and Prabhupada credits him actually. In one of his talks, he takes forcefully, practically, him in front of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And the first thing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he saw Prabhupada, he said, you boys look intelligent. He said, you look intelligent. You should preach this message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world. I mean, the first meeting, right? And somebody, can you imagine? Your Guru Maharaj, when he first meets you, tells you, hey, you look intelligent. You should take this message, go to the Western world. I mean, this was in 1922. How many people even stepped outside of India? Let alone go and preach the message. When Prabhupada said, but who is going to accept the teachings of your Lord Chaitanya? Of course, Prabhupada knew Lord Chaitanya because his father. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this message of Lord Chaitanya is not like a temporary thing like India's dependence on the British. Now India can be subjugated to the British, but in the future, Britain can become subjugated to India. This is all temporary, but Lord Chaitanya's mission is so urgent, there's no waiting. Just like when a house is burning, you don't sit and plan how to put the foot off the fire. You got to immediately run around, see where's the water, where's the bucket, where's the hydrant, where's the hose. So you don't sit around and play. So he said, this is really urgent. So this really struck Prabhupada. Wow, this person is so intent, so pure, this personality. So 10 years later, after that, Prabhupada took initiation. But until then, he was constantly thinking about this personality. So Prabhupada was initiated Abhay Charanaravinda Das. So, and then Prabhupada only met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati about 6 or 7 times, personally. The rest was with some letters, but he used to help his godbrothers, the Gaudiya Math, whenever they came, they arranged for preaching. So Prabhupada used to write letters. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when you write back, you have to preach this message into the Western world. So Prabhupada used to think, how am I? So in his final meeting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Radhakund with his Prabhupada's son, I think it was Vrindavan, Prabhupada, we were walking around Radhakund and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, if you got money, print books. He said, I built this beautiful temple in Bagh Bazaar, this big, beautiful temple, but it has simply become a place for strife and infighting. Everybody wants a part of the temple. So if I had my desire, I will tear apart the temple and sell the marble to print books. To that extent, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur placed so much importance. He said, big temples are going to create a lot of problems. People will start fighting, infighting, politics. Who will be this? Who will be that? So if you get money, Abhay, print books. So Prabhupada, this really struck Prabhupada's heart. And he said, there will be fire in the mud. He spoke in hidden terms. What does it mean when there's a fire? That means the whole Gaudiya Math is going to get burned down. Because he saw that those disciples who he trained very hard, they were getting deviated from his instruction. So what Prabhupada also said, the disciple inherits the wealth of the spiritual master, just like the son inherits the wealth of the father. So what does it mean to inherit the wealth of the spiritual master? Does it mean property? No. Prabhupada actually inherited the instructions, the potency, because Prabhupada took the spiritual master's instruction as his life and his soul. Therefore, all the mercy came to him. So Prabhupada took this mission so seriously. At 70 years old, he crossed the Indian Ocean, left Vrindavan, suffered heart attacks, no resources, no support. But he had so much faith in the order of the spiritual master. So the order of the spiritual master, the Vani of the spiritual master, is the living force of the disciple. One who has got life, he can preach. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, if you don't have life, you cannot preach. What does that mean? Life means just a beating heart? No. Life means you have been given life by the spiritual master. It's mercy to preach the message. Even the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that one who's not empowered by Krishna cannot spread the message of Krishna consciousness. So like that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mercy, Prabhupada fully imbibed, and Srila Prabhupada said, if at all there's credit for me, there's only one thing. He said there's two things. I never changed what my spiritual master said, and I had deep faith in the word of my spiritual master. Unshakable faith. Without unshakable faith, how could Prabhupada did what he did? And he also, Prabhupada said, I was never lazy. So these are all formulas for us. We shouldn't concoct things. We should keep strict. And when we keep strict to what Prabhupada has taught us, what our spiritual masters have taught us, then we'll surely find success in this world, success in spreading this movement. Then Krishna will give you so many resources. Okay, I'll stop here. Is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur departed this world January 1, 1937. In fact, it's 62 years old, very early. 62 is very early. But Krishna took Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur back. Any questions, any comments, anybody wants to add? So today we have to pray to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We have his wonderful pranam mantras. We have 4 pranam mantras. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namava. Madhurya Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastude. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dantaharine. Read this 4 pranam mantras very carefully today and try to understand what it means. So that's how a personality, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we have this lineage which is so amazing. If you look at our lineage of spiritual masters, it is just so extraordinary fortunate. Somehow we have become connected. Simply by their mercy, we have become connected to this lineage. Not because of any of our abilities. So let's pray to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that your instructions you gave resulted in ISKCON, Prabhupada fulfilling your desire. So may we also become sincere, like how Srila Prabhupada has taught us to please you, to spread this movement. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, are there any questions?
Any questions, any corrections? Not only questions, corrections, comments, additions? Who's the MC here? Who's the...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, I'm just checking anyone have questions or comments who are in the temple hall as well as in online.
There has to be some comments, some questions.
Yeah, 1 minute, Prabhu. I'm giving to Umesh, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Taught me about selfless service. So if you look at Prabhupadaji's life and also Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaji's life, you see selfless service to Krishna. Nowadays, we serve Krishna, but we want something, right? Oh, give me a car, more financial, better life, give me this, give me that. Even in spiritual settings, we want something, moksha. How do we generate love for Krishna so that we also can follow Prabhupada and serve selflessly? Because I got this message from your class, but if you can elaborate, how can you generate a selfless love for Krishna?
It starts from faith. Only when you have faith in something, you will be willing to surrender to that cause. So we have to develop that unshakable faith, because our spiritual life is currently 1 foot on land and 1 foot on the boat. We want to get on the boat, we want to get on the land. Either we get on the land or we get on the boat. If 1 leg is there, 1 leg on the land, you're not going to go anywhere. So we have to take the association of such saintly people who have completely convinced. Only with such association and also with some real endeavor on your side, on your thing, we can get away this selfish mentality, because our heart is filled with so many unwanted things which are constantly creating doubts, constantly putting obstacles on our mind. So we only by the association of very, very pure Vaishnavas And with a tremendous determination, we can come to the point of full surrender. And of course, ultimately, by Krishna's grace and the Vaishnava's grace. So we have to seek out such association. We also have to work on our own character, our own development with determination. Because if you have some hope in this material world, that means you don't have full hope in Krishna. You cannot say, I want to have it this way and I have it that way. No. Okay, so that's the secret.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Satyasara Prabhu is there? You want to add anything, Satyasara Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Nothing to add, Prabhu. You beautifully spoke about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So there's a question from Radha Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, wonderful class. Thank you very much for your wonderful class, Prabhuji. One question I have is about Gaurakishore Babaji. Yeah, I mean, amazing story, unbelievable that he could not read and write, and still he was such a great personality. Could you elaborate on how he attained all this knowledge and how he became so great?
So knowledge is not something you just read. So I can read the Bhagavatam all day long, but it's just like I could be do some character recognition. Now we have in AI, we just have some character recognition and recognize some characters and words. No. Spiritual life is a function of the heart. So if you serve Krishna, there are so many wonderful examples in history where people who were illiterate had attained the highest, even animals had attained very high states of consciousness. Because it's not a function of the intellect, it's a function of the heart. Bhakti is ultimately a function of the heart. So Krishna is also known as Bhavagrahi Janardana. So a great Pandit can quote the whole Bhagavatam, but Krishna will never be moved by such recitation. But if a small child who is illiterate, if he comes and says some heartful prayers to Krishna, it will move Krishna. And Krishna will illuminate that child's heart with knowledge. So Srila Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj, his heart was so saturated with love for Krishna. So therefore he understood everything that needs to be known about bhakti. He understood everything about the Bhagavatam. He said everything about the dealings with the gopis and Krishna. He even understood everything about how to please Krishna. He understood the deeper secrets, how to chant the holy name of Krishna. In fact, he was so much in ecstasy, chanting Krishna's name, sometimes he even forgot that he not wearing any clothes. He will appear in public like that, not even conscious of his own body. So that's in a state of consciousness he was, completely absorbed in Krishna. So we shouldn't think that scholarship is prerequisite. No. Okay? So we find that many Prabhupada disciples, before meeting Prabhupada, they didn't know anything about Krishna. But look, some of these wonderful disciples of Prabhupada, they've attained such high levels of advancement. Some of them are not even big scholars. When they leave their body, you can see the level of advancement they have attained. So we have to have faith that when we follow this path very strictly, very genuinely, very sincerely, very humbly, and do our 100%, then everything you need to know about Krishna and bhakti and yourself, your relationship, everything will be revealed to you. Simple. Simple for the simple, difficult for the crooked. Prabhupada used to sell that. So we have to be very simple when we approach Guru and Krishna. Then everything will come.
Thank you, Prabhu. One more question from Ram Prabhu, I think. Ram Prabhu, your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
One thing that inspired me is that, the Prabhupada Narendra Malik is, his friend. It took him to the, when, first time, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and first time, what really made him to that, very first attempt that, he said, okay, you need to go and preach in the Western world. What kind of, does it have any mystic powers, to
Yes.
find out? It's like,
Yes. So because these great personalities, they are fully in tune with Krishna. They can see who is meant for what. So there's an incident when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was addressing all his disciples, and Prabhupada was also seated in the midst. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had already sent his disciples to UK to preach, but they came back with very limited success. They thought, this is too very high culture. The Westerners, they can't relate to this. So they kept their deities in a closet, and they worshiped the closet. So they came back with very limited success. 1 or 2 disciples they made, and they came back. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was feeling a little despondent, and he said, who among y'all is going to take this message of Mahaprabhu to the Western world? So he was looking over his audience, and finally his glance fell on Srila Prabhupada. So that was another indication. He was looking, and finally his glance fell on Srila Prabhupada. It was an indication, those who were observant, that this person will take the message to the West. Because so that's why sometimes great personalities, they know who is meant for what. Krishna's living in the heart. They're in direct communication with Krishna. Okay?
thank you, Prabhu.
I don't know if it's getting late. I know you all have a program subsequent.
So Prabhu, could you please take 2 more questions? 1 or 2 more questions?
Sure, yeah.
Because we are running late for Aarti, our single.
Absolutely. Whatever I am at your service.
Anybody, Mataji's side? Lada, you have any question? Okay. Rekha Mataji has question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I hope Priya and Mataji is doing well.
Well, thank you for asking.
My question is, Gaurakishore Prabhuji Maharaj is carrying like 2 books, right? Narottama Das Prabhuji is singing one, right? Like I forgot another one.
Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika.
Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Then, I mean, it's not like, it's as a submissively I'm asking, may I know the reason why he took carrying those books? Is for the inspiration or like?
Yeah, he's also to tell people that I'm illiterate, but these songs are and he used to sing those songs. It's not like he was just carrying those books. He used to sing all the songs in the Prema Bhakti Chandrika and Prarthana. And he knew all the songs, but he was carrying it because this is my prized possession. Of course, this famous incident when Mahaprabhu went to South India, you all know the incident in Srirangam. He saw this Brahmana, illiterate Brahmana. He was holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down.
Correct.
And all the Pandits were making fun of him. You don't even know how to read. What are you trying to pretend to read the Bhagavad Gita? But he was crying. Mahaprabhu said, Brahmana, why are you crying? Oh, my Guru Maharaj said that even though I'm illiterate, I have to try to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So he was so fixed on following the instructions of his spiritual master, even though you don't know how to read. Okay, it's good that you're doing that, but why are you crying? He said, whenever I take the Bhagavad Gita, immediately this vision of Krishna, who's the Lord of the entire creation, the Lord of all lords, the proprietor of everything, the Supreme Personality, he's menially driving the chariot for his devotee, taken such a menial position. When I think of that, my heart melts and I cannot control but cry. Mahaprabhu embraced him and he said, you have understood the Bhagavad Gita. So like I said, bhakti is a function of the heart. It's nothing superficial. Okay? So just like when you have something very prized, you will carry that with you wherever you go. So he was also trying to tell people that these teachings, you have to take it to heart. Narottam Das Thakur. Not only just singing every day, nice bhajans, musical composition. No. You have to imbibe these teachings into your heart and make that your life and soul. Just like Narottam Das Thakur says, Radha Krishna Prana Mora Jugal Kishore Jivane Marane Gati Arna Hipur. He says, Radha Krishna the youthful couple Radha Krishna are my life. Whether in living condition or a dead condition, I have no other destination other than them. No other hope other than them. No other aspiration other than them. In just this simple song, Narottam Das Thakur has taught us every conclusion about bhakti. You make Radha and Krishna the only aspiration, whether in your living condition or dead condition, you have attained the goal. Simple songs like that teach us such wonderful, deep meaning. Okay?
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rasikendra Prabhu, for your wonderful class and clarifying all of our questions. We are moving on to the Aarti.
Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity, and it's also very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rasikendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
I need to get a strap so I can stand next time. I don't have a strap.
Yeah. Hare Krishna devotees, we are going to do Aarati, so please come forward and stand up. Today the Pujari service is done by Her Grace Nirmala Devi Dasi, and Aarati is going to be sung by Bhaktin Kimberly.
Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaho Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravahani Pechanine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Askatyadeshatarine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Askatyadeshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, श्री मायापुरी धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, गंगा मई यमुना मई की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, बृहद मृदंगा की जय। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now we are going to sing Narsimha Arati.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Ladadaini. हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वक्षः ईथो न सिंहो परतो न सिंहो यथा यतो यमि ततो न सिंहो बहिर्न सिंहो इदयेन सिंहो नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलभैरवी नरकं हपुतसिंहा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु धनुबिंगा केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nishing Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna devotees. Before that, I'm